Yeah, they changed the placards. My placard's over here.
That's great.
I've never been over here, at least not in a long, long time. It's like the view's very different from over here.
You know? It's good to see you.
Good me. Oh, I just got a notification. We are now live.
Uh-oh.
So.
Oh, you have two mics.
I can hear what's around.
Cassie, are we good to go? Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order this evening. This is the Syracuse City Council regular business meeting of April 9th, 2019, convening at 6 p.m. in City Council chambers. We welcome you here. We're glad we could provide you with some shelter from the rain, but don't you love rainy days? I would entertain a motion that we just go get a good book and I'll sit and read. I love to sit and read in the rain.
So moved.
I've asked Councilwoman Bolduc if she would offer either a prayer or an invocation on our meeting, and then Councilman Mon if he would lead us in a pledge of allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you that we have this opportunity to gather as citizens, and we pray that thou will be with us and help us to seek understanding, to seek for that which is best for our residents and for this beautiful city. We thank thee for the country in which we live and the great blessings which we enjoy, and we pray that we will be willing to share that with others. And these things we humbly ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Those, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We have the entire quorum with us this evening. We're grateful to have you all here. Council, I'd entertain a motion to adopt our agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote was unanimous. For the benefit of the public that aren't with us a lot, we set aside some time at the beginning of every meeting and at the end of every meeting to hear from the public and to have an opportunity to see what issues are on the minds of the residents of Syracuse. This is placed on our agenda every time we meet. We would invite you, if you have something that you would like to bring to the attention of the council that is not already in a matter of public hearing this evening, we would be willing to entertain that now. We would ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you'd come to the microphone here, at the rostrum that is here in the front and state your name and place of residence before you begin, and then we will give you 3 minutes to address the council. Is there anyone who would like to approach the council?
Mayor, members of the council, city staff, my name is Ralph Vaughn. I live in the Canterbury North Park area of Syracuse. I'm here on behalf of 16 seniors that are desperately trying to get into the college of their choice. I want to give you the opportunity to expand their opportunity to do that, to greatly assist them in doing that. It will result in the same bang for buck. There will be no additional cost. There will be no less cost, but it will be an increased bang for the buck, and it may have an immeasurable impact in the lives of these 16 seniors. Once a month, and tonight is the night, we have a portion of our agenda meeting where we honor certain students for their achievements in the community. This achievement recognition is shared among all of the schools in Syracuse, so every school has an opportunity. But there can only be 2. For Syracuse High School, there can only be 2 for the school year. If this program was modified to make it strictly for our seniors, then we would modify by 9 times the productivity and the opportunity to honor a senior who would be able to include this great honor in their packet that they submit to colleges and universities. All of us are parents. We've all been through this ourselves. Some of us are now doing it for our grandkids. Now, to be sure, and I mean no disrespect nor dishonor for any of the kids that are here today, from Syracuse Arts Academy, nor their parents for their achievement that they have done. But I'm thinking on this very important level, we might find another way to be able to honor individual children. It's not as though a 5th or 6th grader has as much on the line as a newly minted or soon to be newly minted senior trying to go off to college. But I hope you would consider changing this format just very, very slightly. Now, one of the things I can commend the city for this is number one, for having this program to begin with. It's outstanding. It's outstanding. It recognizes the finest. It recognizes the future of our great community. I also want to commend the Chamber of Commerce for now stepping up and joining the city. I think it's better to have the chamber as opposed to an individual business join in the city recognizing this. But sometimes, should this discussion ever come up in the future, you might want to consider that there was at least one person that would like to assist 16 more seniors. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Anyone else?
Okay, Mayor, council members, thank you. My name is Sean Hess. I live at 618 West, 2525 South over in, I think they call it Kings Row. And I am a small business owner. I run a home-based online business. We're looking to expand. We're growing quite rapidly. And what we do is we bake. I currently bake at a commercial restaurant in Clearfield, and I pay rent there to use their facilities. And I was brought some information by the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food about building my own bakery on my property. I have a building in place that is suitable to do so. However, and I've talked to the engineers and the development people, and they said, yeah, that'd be fine, but the rule does not allow for employees on my property. Currently, we have 3 employees that run our bakery full-time. Well, it's part-time right now, but the most we would ever need is 3, and I have off-street parking for up to 6. This is no different than having 3 teenagers who come and go, or kids who are off to college as far as the traffic is concerned. There's no big deliveries going on. There's nothing like that that impede the residential area based on what the rule is saying you can't do it for. And so in the future, we'd like to look at proposing a rule change that would allow up to 3 employees, providing that there is sufficient off-street parking at no come-and-go traffic, and no impact to the standard daily events of the neighborhood. That's really all I have, but we just wanted to bring that to awareness because we'd like to start looking at possibly changing that rule. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Excuse me.
My name is Bill Backus, and I live at 3529 West, 1700 South. And your ordinance for the decoration of the graves, it says right in the first sentence, fresh cut and artificial flowers are permitted at any time if placed in a permanent vase, metal or stone, located on a monument. And the only reason they give for removal is that if they become unsightly. Now, cleaning the graveyard is not justification to remove these flowers, because there's nothing to clean up on them. They do not blow over in the wind, and they're not in the way of the mowing or the any maintenance of the graveyard. Now, these flowers cost from anywhere to $20 to $50 for a bouquet. And going through the graveyard, there's about 40 to 50% of the grave sites that have these permanent vases installed. So the council has ordered the removal of all of these flowers, thousands of dollars worth of them, for no justifiable reason. Now, before I go to the trouble and expense to replace new flowers on the gravesite of my wife, I want to know if the council members are going to adhere to the city ordinance, or are they going to, that it says here that they will clean up 3 times a year. Now, there's no cleanup on these flowers that's in these vases, and they're 100% in compliance with the ordinance. So I think the council ought to read the ordinance and take some action on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing and seeing none, I will close public comment with maybe this comment. We've heard about some issues tonight that if you would like them further examined by the City Council, you can. You can visit with the city in the city offices, and we would be glad to discuss any of these topics in a work session. Because we've adopted Robert's Rules of Order, we can't address any of those things this evening, but we would be glad to discuss them further in a work session if you would seek application for that. Moving on, it was mentioned our Syracuse Chamber of Commerce Award of Excellence. Former Mayor Terry Palmer, who is now the managing director of our Chamber of Commerce, is here. Terry, would you like to take a moment and recognize these students?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I appreciate this opportunity to do this. So if I could have Gavin come forward and Elizabeth. I decided to kind of look around a little bit, and I could obviously tell these were the 2 recipients here tonight, so it's awesome. You're only about half his height, though. But I hear you're really very, very, very smart, so So we have Elizabeth Schroeder here tonight, and this is some of the things that were said about her by the administration and by the teachers at the Arts Academy North, Syracuse Arts Academy. Elizabeth is excellent in all areas. Now, that's pretty impressive. Her character qualifies her. Her character qualifies her, sets her apart from her many, many peers. She is an amazing leader and always gives her best effort. Elizabeth is a well-rounded student that always works hard. She is a leader and friend to everyone. Elizabeth is involved in many extracurricular activities, including the Girl Scouts, school band, and also competitive dancing. Pretty awesome. Elizabeth is part of Syracuse Arts Academy's advanced band and has a major part in our 6th grade play. She is an honor student at the Syracuse Arts Academy. So let me present to Elizabeth here. So here is a picture of you and also the certificate. Now, stay up here, okay? Because we're going to have the council and mayor come down and shake hands with you. But, it'll be here at the city for a whole month. So if you want to bring your friends in, you can show it to them, okay? All right. So Gavin also says here that he is excellent in all areas. So we actually have some terrific kids here tonight. He is a great example to others and goes out of his way to be kind and helpful. He is enthusiastic about learning. Gavin is a natural-born leader and has a fabulous sense of humor. He plays soccer and has won awards in robotics. He also sings a solo. Ooh, we're going to have a solo here tonight? Probably not. Okay. He also sings solo in our 6th grade play. Gavin is an honor student, both academically and in citizenship. He excels in reading and language arts. And so I present to him also as our Syracuse Arts North Academy award here tonight. So 2 great examples of the Academy. I love going to your graduation. I've been there for 4 or 5 years. It's pretty awesome to be there. So let me invite our mayor and council members to come down, congratulate you. And if you'd like to get a picture with the council, we'll do that.
I'm going to miss this. We do this through the month of May when the schools are in session, and it is one of the most precious moments, I think, in our business meeting. And thank you, former Mayor Palmer. We enjoy having you back. It's good to see your face. We have a recognition tonight coming from our police department. Chief, would you like to handle that?
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. It's truly a pleasure when I get to come before you and talk about this this cool bunch of people that help us out. So on April 7th through April 13th has been set aside as National Volunteer Week in 2019. One purpose of National Volunteer Week is to recognize those who have given back to their community through their acts of service. In the spring of 2013, Syracuse Police Department partnered with the Syracuse Lions Club to build a Volunteers in Police Service program. The majority of volunteer efforts had centered on administering fingerprint services for the public. Prior to the partnership, officers had to be called in from the field to perform this duty. The volunteers have allowed us to continue to offer this valuable service to our community while keeping our officers available in the community. Volunteers have also helped with data entry and other administrative functions within the department. In 2018, our volunteers donated over 200 hours to the department. Based on a national estimate of what volunteer time is worth, that service has a benefit of approximately $5,000. I'm going to go off page for just a second because I want to share a few other things about the Lions Club with you. The statistics that I just gave you really only deal with what they give us as an in-kind, if you will. And yet they do so much more for the department and for this community. They spent 3 nights in the cold with us at the Pumpkin Walk and have done this for a couple years now, helping to raise money for charity, donating the hot chocolate, getting involved with the kids, generally making it helping with the community atmosphere of that event and helping us raise money. This year, they were also a big partner with us in our Guns and Hoses program, not only making a very sizable donation to our effort, but also in all the time that they spent there with us that night, engaging with people and helping to run the event. And we're just so absolutely fortunate to have a partnership with them. They are truly a Syracuse institution. It's with great pride and admiration that I present the members of our Volunteer and Police Service program to the mayor and the council for recognition. So I'm going to call them up by name, and if you would like to come down and thank them as well, I would certainly appreciate it. So if I can have Lynn John, Sandra John, Steve Anderson, Mike Eisenberg, Chris O'Shea, and I also want to recognize Eric Ellington, but it doesn't look like he's here tonight.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Would it be all right if we got a picture with our group? All right.
I'll stand right there.
Hey, let's get a group picture. So our Lions move to the middle, council.
We'll fill in the windows.
Yeah, please.
We'll just be the photo bomber from background.
No money here. Easy.
A fellow could spend the whole night reading a list of things that the Lions Club has contributed to this community. We'd be here for hours talking about it. And for those of you who are new to our community, this was our rec program back in the 50s. So we're very grateful for this wonderful, wonderful group of people that contribute so much time and so much leadership to our community. Thank you again. Grateful that you would accept a little bit of thanks for what you do. Item number 5, I'm going to take, and council, this is a appointment of members to our Syracuse Disaster Preparedness Committee, which we hope we never have to use. But if we prepare, we'll be there when it comes. We have 2 vacancies that we need to fill on that committee. One from the South District, Mr. Wes Jenkins, and one at-large member, Mr. Dan Markling. And I wondered if I could have Wes, would you come forward and just tell this council a little bit about yourself, and you'd come up here and where they can hear you.
Thank you. So as I said, my name's Wes Jenkins. I've been in Syracuse now for going on 8 years. We love it. Told my wife I'm going to get buried in the backyard, so I'm not planning on going anywhere. But yeah, just glad to help out, and glad to be here.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
I might mention he married a Syracuse girl. Yeah. Yeah. Dan, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Dan Merkling. We've lived here in Syracuse, my wife and I, since December '05. And like Wes, we love it. Don't want to go anywhere else. I spent 17 years as an Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve officer, 12 of those years in a tactical control squadron as a weapons director, with 5 years additional duty as the intelligence officer. My wife and I received our CERT training 5 years ago, and Councilman Jordan was our lead instructor. My wife and I have been licensed ham operators, amateur radio operators, since 2016, and last summer I upgraded to the general level. Becoming active in the local ham community, I've been active in local nets, weekly nets, where I check in with like-minded ham operators in Syracuse and Davis County. I have been active in the Davis County ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Services group, for over 2 years, and was just appointed to be their new public information officer. I've participated with them in numerous planned and events and exercises. I've been a classroom instructor on technical and incident topics for many years, and I just completed my first technician ham license class 6 weeks ago, and we got 3 new hams out of that class, and I've got 3 more scheduled for the next 2 weeks. So I'll get 6 out of that first class. I've been assisting my local area emergency coordinator, who happens to be my wife, and since 2016, and I am the area emergency communication specialist. Since 2016, I have also been completing my FEMA NIMS credentialing courses towards incident management, and I'm scheduled for my next in-class course, ICS 400 Advanced Training in Vernal in May. So I'm looking forward to exercising my passion for emergency incident management and emergency communication, and I thank you for the opportunity to do this.
Thank you, Dan. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Public safety is the mayor's role. Council, I would like to make these appointments to that committee. I would seek your endorsement. Any discussion?
Well-qualified individuals.
I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept Resolution R19-11 appointing Wes Jenkins and Dan Merkling to the Syracuse City Disaster Preparedness Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bingham. Any other discussion, Council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote was unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Go to work. Appreciate you being here this evening. Council, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of February 12th, 2019, our work session, February 26th, 2019, our work session, and February 26th, 2019, the special meeting that we held that night. Any discussion?
I would just say that I noted that there were some of our discussions that were extremely streamlined, but I'm good with it if you are, as form of record.
I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2019, February 26th, 2019 work session, and February 26th, 2019 special meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Peterson. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That vote was unanimous. Council, we have two items in item number 7 under common consent. I might just make mention to those of you who may not have followed directly what's been going on with the council. The council meets twice a month. The latter part of the month we meet in a work session. In that work session, we discuss and make decisions in that meeting informally. And when we have consensus in that setting, then we create a consent calendar for items that met consensus at that point. And we have two items from our last work session that we would propose: ordinance 1905, amending the Syracuse City zone map related to property located at 777 South, 2000 West, from agricultural A1 to professional office. The second item is a proposed ordinance 1906, amending section 3.35.020 of the Syracuse City Municipal Code pertaining to the appointment of council members to the Syracuse City Parks Advisory Committee. Those were all discussed and met with consent. I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
I move that we accept the proposed ordinance 1905, amending the Syracuse City zoning map related to property located at 777 South, 2000 West, from agricultural A1 to professional office. And also proposed ordinance 1906, amending section 3.35.020 of the Syracuse City Municipal Code pertaining to the appointment of council members to the Syracuse City Parks Advisory Committee.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by
Did I say it wrong?
Nope.
No.
Oh, okay.
Seconded by Mr. Savage. Any other discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I spoke with you about this on number 2B, item B. Can
That we're going to have to place as a separate agenda item on a business meeting.
understood.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, authorize administration to award 2000 West Linear Park project to landscape specialists. Cresta, do you want to bring us up to date?
All right. I think we've had quite the discussion on this, so everybody's, I think, on the same page on everything except for the bike ramps, and I think that the understanding was everybody was good with the construction bid total except for the bike ramps, and that you guys still wanted to have a discussion on that. Are we all in agreement on that?
I have one other item that has since come up as a result of our meetings. At the very south end of the linear park, there is a very large area, like a room-size area for natural grasses. So that we don't cause too much disturbance to a bid that we need to award, I would just be curious if there's anything else that we could swap out those grasses for that would be more evergreen in nature. I'm just concerned that with such a large patch of grass that will turn brown and show its character, I'm worried people are going to think we planted a field of weeds.
I do believe the idea of that situation was taken from our suggestion in one of the earlier meetings about later on when we have the funds to place a buffalo of some sort in our theme that we've had, and then the grasses being around it similar to what you'd see on Antelope Island, for instance. So that's the intent of why that area was designed in such a way.
If that's the case, then I would entertain the discussion that maybe we, instead of putting the bike ramps in, put the buffalo in now. It could be a separate line item. We just eliminate the bike ramps and use that money on a separate bid because it wouldn't be taken care of by that installer anyway, but it would immediately get us to what we're talking about.
I think I would recommend that what we do here tonight is we go ahead and award this, but take the line item of the bike ramps out, and then on the next work session, let's talk about putting in those types of art things. Because I agree. I think rather than have the field sit there until we get to it, let's take the money and perhaps apply it to that. But I agree, but I do think we need to cover that in a different agenda. We can't do it here.
Right.
So I guess I would make the motion that we award the contract as stated, with the exception of the line item for the bike ramps, and we'll hold that funding in reserve, talk about it at the council work session and decide what to do with that. I think you can move forward without that line item currently, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's my motion.
And that's the motion.
I will second that motion.
I just want to clarify, will it be difficult to add in some sort of bike ramp thing later on? Will that adjust this much?
I think we have.
Clarifying.
Well, I think what they're saying is you can still have the bike ramp. They're just saying pull that out now, and then you guys can have the discussion of whether you want the bike ramps to stay, whether you want the art sculptures or whatever you want in that area. It's just to pull that out right now so you guys can go forward and not have to have that discussion right now in this.
But are we saving money on the bike ramp by having it bid out here? Does that make sense?
That's it. The line item's pulled out. If you see, you've got the line item as $22,274. So that's just, you're just pulling that out, not putting that in right now.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, does this contractor save us money because of a bid they have with the bike ramp people?
We have a current bid with the bike ramp manufacturer. I don't know if the bid will go up. It's valid for a couple months. I can't remember when the bid or when the estimate expires, but it might go up. I wouldn't foresee it would go down.
But you're saying that
probably
it's a
pretty
separate
similar
contractor. So if that's a separate
Okay.
contractor,
Yep. All right. I'm good with having the conversation down the road then.
And hopefully we'll decide this in 2 weeks, and we'll put it to bed, and we'll have to talk about it again.
Yeah, just as clarification. I said bid, but I meant estimate from the bike ramp. This is, the bid that we have that we're voting on is for the landscape contractor. The bike ramp is just a separate line item, and it'll be designed so that there'll be a cement pad for that bike ramp in the future.
They won't be putting in a cement pad in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I think we have time to hash this out. We don't have a lot of time, but we have time.
Council, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. And for the benefit of those who don't know what we're talking about, when 2000 West was widened between 1700 South and the high school, there was a strip of property on the west side of that road that was then surplused to the city, and we're going to create a linear park along there for children walking to school, and that's what that discussion was about. Okay. Item number 9, Steve.
So this is a follow-up discussion on the budget opening. We discussed this last meeting in length. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail other than there were 2 changes made since our last discussion, one of which was for the crosswalk we talked about as a separate item. The second one is for streetlight participation. This is a net zero impact to the budget. It's just having to do with new growth. So as new subdivisions come in, we put the streetlights in and then we charge that developer, so we get the money back. This is just a sign that we've had a lot of new subdivisions and a lot of new development. Those are the only two changes in red that you'll see on the budget opening. If you want, I can go further. If you guys are good, I'll end
Council, do you need any more explanation?
No.
We've been through
No.
this.
Thank you.
Seeing that the council does not, anytime we spend money, we have to ask your permission. And so this is scheduled for a public hearing. If you would like to comment on the spending of money on this budget opening, we would invite you now. I declare we are now in public hearing. That if you would like to address the council in relationship to this budget opening, we'd invite you to come forward, state your name and place of residence, and we'd love to hear your comments. Hearing and seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council, it's open for discussion.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Make a motion?
All right.
Do it.
I'll move that we adopt proposed resolution R19-08, making some adjustments throughout our budget for this fiscal year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bingham. Any other discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Cassie. Item number 10, ordinance 1907, adopting sections 4.25.150 and 4.25-160 of the Syracuse City Municipal and Engineering Standards update for secondary water meters. Robert?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The state legislator mandated that all new construction have new meters installed for secondary water systems throughout the whole state of Utah. So in response to that, we have brought this before the Planning Commission. They have reviewed it and recommended it come forward to you for consideration to adopt the new standards. Also with the standards is title change to 4.25, which just places meters in the code. A lot of this was basically just kind of copied over from what we already have for our culinary. It talks about things related to installation, ownership, tampering, that sort of thing. So I'll take any questions.
The only thing I have to say on this is, first of all, thank you for working this so expeditiously in lieu of the state legislature's action. But I do want to publicly state that I am not in favor of these unfunded mandates that are requiring cities to spend taxpayer money to do these types of things, especially when they require us to go back and do a lot of retrofitting. And at this point, we don't have to go through and retrofit everything. That day will come. But basically what this means is the home price in Syracuse just went up by a few grand. And so I do not like this, but I do understand that we need to comply with state law. So I would make a motion that we accept proposed ordinance 19-07, adopting sections 4.25.150 and 4.25.160 of the Syracuse City Municipal and Engineering Standard Update for secondary water meters.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilwoman Bolduc. Any other discussion, council?
I would like to just let citizens know that this affects you, and you need to be conscious of making your legislators aware that by forcing us to take action that comes out of our budget without any money for us to take care of that, forces either one of two things. We now either have to raise taxes to compensate for this unfunded mandate, or we have to roll back and give you less of a service. And I don't think that's what our citizens want in either case. So it puts us in a very awkward position that I don't care for. But that we just need to have that explained for the record, that that's what this means. We have no choice but to cover this cost that the state has put upon us, and we have no means to do it with.
I would just make the comment that some of our own representatives here in Syracuse did voice their opinion that they were not for this. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. Sure. But we do have representatives throughout the state where they don't have secondary water, and so they don't care. So let them know.
I'd also like it to be on the record to thank you. You did such an exceptional job here, Robert, in making sure that we're getting the best deal that we can, and you worked out a maintenance plan, and that's something else that needs to be on the record, that our city has to maintain these water meters, and that is an ongoing cost and new employees and just an extensive amount of money and work that now we have to find a way to do. And because we have Mr. Whiteley, who's so adept at his job, he's found a way to do this the least amount possible, save us a lot of money on the installation of the new meters, but that's quite a burden that falls on our road work and your job. So thank you for your efforts and your work to do this at the most cost-effective way that you can. But we know this is an added burden to you and your staff.
Thank you very much. I will definitely pass that along to my staff. It takes a full staff to do that. Thank you.
Any other comments, council? I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Cassie. Noah. Proposed ordinance 1904 amending chapter 10.75 of the Syracuse City Code pertaining to the planned residential development zone.
Don't push your button so we can hear you.
Now we can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That mutes you.
So this here, we've had lots of discussion on. This would be amendment to the PRD zone, planned residential development. The amendment essentially creates 3 tiers of density. Currently, the maximum density is at 6 units per acre, and it provides a framework for 9 units per acre and 12 units per acre under certain circumstances. It also addresses an in lieu fee for common space and an amended process for adoption or for projects as they come through the pipeline, so that we can review concept plans as they change the general plan. It also talks about side adjustment to the side yards and also the height of allowed structures.
Okay. Council, any discussion?
So I just am going to say that this process I've appreciated, even though government, even city government, can be slow sometimes, and not everybody gets their way. Not every developer, not every citizen, not every council member got their way. I just loved that we were able to compromise and finally, hopefully, come to a place where we can vote on it.
I remain with 3 concerns in the way that it reads tonight. The first is one that I thought we kind of addressed before, but it apparently is not the result that we suggested, and that is I'm concerned with 5-plex and 6-plex, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it probably wouldn't apply to the smallest, to the 6 units per acre, but now I'm seeing that it probably will. I'm concerned that we have 6 plexes in a lower density area like that. So I would ask that the council consider as one adjustment that we don't allow 5-plex and 6-plex in the lowest density area.
I recall a discussion about this very topic, and we came to the conclusion that it was okay to have 6 units attached in that situation, because the whole idea is to have more common space allowed.
Well, I went back to it, and we kind of concluded that the concern was in the smallest, and the concern was that, or the resolution was, probably wouldn't happen. Now we're seeing that it might happen, so I'm just asking that it be reconsidered.
I would disagree with that concern.
Council, I'm looking for a motion.
I just had one more question, and you know, this is just something I read during from the Planning Commission. The discussion of uses came up in Planning Council. Was that in respect to this, specifically like apiaries and things like that?
Recently in planning commission, we were talking about the cluster subdivision and
Okay, you're
permitted
right, that's what
uses.
it was.
Are we talking
Okay,
about?
that doesn't apply here.
So I'm also concerned about, and you all know this, but I'm still concerned about shortening the distance between houses to 5 feet. Basically, we're saying that a person's side yard is no more than one of those tables. And I think that's not enough for a home. I think that that is too small. But again, that's just my concern. And lastly, I think that we've probably gone too far on density. I wish that we, there's a reason why this was rolled back by a previous council. And looking into that, I'm concerned that we go too far too fast. Those are my concerns.
I would suggest that with the areas that are the side yards being 5 and 5 for a total of 10, that it actually in some places comparative to the trailside community, as their homes are in a turning situation, that some of those side yards are only 8 feet apart. So this is actually larger and it works well for them.
I also think that we've discussed a lot about having it fit into the trailside community, and on both sides of this property we have very similar zoning and similar housing. We went to great lengths to make sure and ensure that there wouldn't be anything more than 6 units per acre, which is on average about what trailside is as well. We also wanted to increase the size of the actual dwelling rather than increase the size of the side yard, because we feel like that will make it a more substantial home for the people buying in that area, and that they will tend to want to stay there longer. And we have a higher, we tend to have a better feeling in a community when we don't have a lot of turnover. So I feel like this, because both sides of this property are PRD or are cluster or are at least similar in zone to this and the same amount of units per acre, I feel like we are definitely trying to keep the feeling of this area, not increase traffic flow any more than what Trailside currently has. And we also have, we've seen some plans from the developer that shows this has a community feel, not just a feeling of stamping the same kind of dwelling over and over. So I feel like this has been a great compromise.
Okay, so to be clear, what we have in front of us is just the general zone that will be used throughout the city in any PRD. We are not talking about a specific property tonight. None of this that we're going to address tonight deals with one property. This is all PRDs.
Yes, that is correct. And I'm sure that some of that feeling was because of Mr. Bastian making this application.
I'll just say a few things here. So government is about compromise, and we've worked hard on this. Originally this was a much higher density. It was up at 16 at one point. While it's still higher than I like I said, government is about compromise, and I'm willing to give this a shot. If it turns out poorly, the first thing I'll be doing is recommending this go to a much less density. But with the compromise and the view of all the different people, you know, we have 6 plus staff. We have a lot of personalities, and I'm definitely one of them. But I do think this will be a good thing for the city ultimately. I think that as we go forward with this, we'll be watching it very closely, and if we have any problems, it will be reduced very quickly. So in light of that, I would like to move that we accept Ordinance 1904, amending Chapter 10.75 of the Syracuse City Code pertaining to the planned residential development zone, and we'll see how it goes.
I have a motion before.
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Vote was 4-1. Cassie? Okay, let's move on. Item number 10. Noah, this is yours too.
Okay. Business Park Development Agreement. This property is located along 193 and 1000 West. We've talked about this in a previous meeting where We've been working with the prospective buyer of the property who desires to build storage units, and we've reached an agreement to provide, in addition to the storage units, some flex office space, and which we feel like will provide more jobs. Attached in the packet was a draft development, or a proposed development agreement, which addresses what those flex office buildings will look like and the general layout, so that they'll be able to develop the storage units is similar to the way they've built in other locations, which there's also some photos of that in the exhibit, and also the architecture of the flex buildings also available in an exhibit. I did get an email, I must say, where the Giza development, which is listed as a party, they're still in support of it, but their name will need to be corrected, and I don't know if it needs to be part of the motion or not. Maybe Paul can comment, but you don't think so?
Why is that an issue?
No, it should be. I think you can make that part of the
Make a
motion.
correction?
Yeah, it should be Antelope Business Park LLC rather than Giza
thank you.
Development.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all of the terms of the agreement haven't changed, but they did catch that typo that we had the wrong name, which is the name of the group that actually did the development, not actually the
Tell us that
owner.
name one more time.
Antelope Business Park LLC.
Okay.
Right now, I think it says Giza Development.
Council, we've spent a lot of time with this. Any more discussion? I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make the motion that we accept proposed resolution R19-10 authorizing you to execute the development agreement with Bear River Storage LLC and Antelope Business Park LLC pertaining to the development of the property located at 1200 West, 3500 South, 350 South.
Have a motion.
Second.
Have a second from Councilwoman Bingham. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. We're at the point in our business meeting where we would reopen the business meeting to public comment. If something has stirred your imagination while you're here and would like to comment, we'd welcome you to come forward and state your name and place of residence, and we'd offer you up to 3 minutes to address the council. Hearing and seeing none, I will close that public comment. We're at mayor and council announcements. Jordan, can we start down at your end?
Sure. So what we have going on right now is our CERT class is finishing up. We'll be having our mock disaster in a few weeks. If any of you guys want to come out and help out with that, we can always use victims. You'll have our CERT team carrying you out of buildings. And anyway, so if you want more information on that, go ahead and contact me or Corinne, and we can point you in the right direction. We also are working with Dan Merkling to be setting up a ham radio class to help train some more hams in our community to make sure that when or if that disaster strikes, we will have good communications. So please put that on your calendars. It'll be starting in June. You'll see something hopefully in the next magazine. And lastly, we have our mock disaster coming up in very shortly. And so we will be working to practicing our rapid disaster assessment program. So if you'll be seeing, there's an article about it in the magazine. So if you don't know what it is, read that rather than me recite it here. And yeah, a lot of things going on with emergency preparedness and many other things in the city. So lots of stuff to do.
Thank you, Jordan. Dave? Yep.
There was a concert last night for those who attended of the Syracuse Orchestra. There will be one next Monday night for the Syracuse Choir and Jazz Band, just to put those on your calendar.
What time are those?
7 o'clock. The one next Monday will be right here in these chambers.
Okay, very good.
And I would like to endorse those concert days. Those are wonderful. I attended last night, and it was phenomenal, especially if you like Michael Jackson. or 007. It's really good. Thank you, Dave. Corinne?
Okay. As far as CERT, yes, tomorrow I'm teaching disaster psychology if anyone wants to show up. So, and then also this Thursday is mosquito abatement, so I'll get you a report of that as that comes along. And if you own colts or your horse is going to foal, please get them immunized right away for West Nile. We had several horse deaths last year because their horses were not immunized. It's only a one-time immunization. Please do it. Pass that on to anyone you know who owns horses.
Thank you, Corinne. Doug?
I don't have anything there.
Okay, Lisa?
I met with the youth council last night, as well as some members of, well, the representatives for our state for the census report that will start next year. And we've asked our youth council to form a committee to basically educate and inform the citizens of Syracuse about the upcoming census and the impact it has on us. Something very interesting, you realize if you miss, let's say 2,000 people are missed being counted in the city, in 1 year's time, that's $2 million worth of funding that we lose. And so it's imperative that we fill this out, and it's the first time it will ever be done online. So it should be a snap to do, but our youth council, they're really excited about having this being the first youth council that will be in charge of the count committee. And if our youth do a great job, then they'll be used as spotlighted basically throughout the nation. So we have an opportunity to really shine and to put our city in the forefront of initiatives. So